attraction. 200 stages are separated.
से सेफली और सॉफ्टली चंद्रमा की सतह है। ये हम लोगों के लिए बहुत ही गर्व की बात है।
We are speaking to India's moon stars, the people who made Chandrayaan-3 a success, the bench level people who made India proud. We spoke to P. Veramathuel, whom I called Shiva. He was the project director for Chandrayaan-3. We spoke to Kalpana, the associate project director, whom I called Shakti, also Nari Shakti for ISRO and India. And how can we forget Nataraj? So we speak to Mr. M Srikanth, and he, in a way, performed the Tandava Nritya for Chandrayaan-3. And those who don't know, Nataraj and Tandava Nritya is all about that cosmic dance by Lord Shiva, embodied in our tradition, also seen at Bharat Mandapam, also seen at CERN in Geneva, given by India. After the launch vehicle Mark III took Chandrayaan-3 into an earthbound orbit, beyond that, all of the dance around Earth, then going into the moon orbit, getting caught there by the embrace of the moon, and till soft landing was, in a way, all on the shoulders of Mr. Srikanth. And he has a moon-like surface and a smile which is very disarming. Mr. Srikanth, once the launch vehicle put Chandrayaan-3 into a precise orbit, and it gave you a beautiful orbit and saved a lot of fuel for you. Yes. How did you go about beyond that?
Yeah. See, actually, once the satellite as a composite gets separated from the launch vehicle, the real activity of the satellite starts. First is the whole composite as a whole. It is having propulsion module. Over that lander is there, inside that rover is there. The whole composite module is controlled by the propulsion module, which will be acquired to a nominal altitude, so that we are having thermal and power safe conditions, and the 3 satellite is in 3-axis stabilized control now with the wheels. This is what first important activity we will do. Next, establishing the communication and all parallel will be going on. After that, we have to perform earthbound maneuvers with using our LAM engine on the propulsion module. Before that, the prerequisites for our engine, LAM engine to start functioning for the burn, we have some basic requirements, like we need to calibrate our inertial system sensors on the propulsion module, and also have the correct assessment what is the parameters which have changed from ground to in orbit. So that we will do before the burn. We are applying that matrix, and then a burn is performed. And for every burn we have axiometer based sensor which will cut off the burn once the acquired delta V is achieved. So like this we repeat each and every burn precisely, meticulously, by planning appropriate calibration, and after the burn post assessment. Like that all the burns we have carried out in earthbound phase, then we have T, Li, then we have a 4 to 5 days of cruise phase, what you call. Then we have LOI, lunar orbit insertion. Then again we have a LBNs, burns around the moon, to come to an orbit where lander can separate from the propulsion module. And the separation of propulsion module, lander module is totally a new activity when compared to Chandrayaan-2, because here we have used the wheels of the lander for the whole composite control in the composite system. The system once lander, before lander separation, the wheels control again has transferred to the lander, which is totally new system which we built into the Chandrayaan-3. And transferring the wheel control to lander was assessed before the separation, And then after the lander got separated, we had to acquire the lander also into 3-axis stabilization orientation what we want. Then we will start the assessment of the sensors, the inertial systems, the cameras which are going to be used for the descent purpose. All these assessments of the engines, like we did a rehearsal of D-orbit 1, D-orbit 2, 2 burns for assessment of engines in different throttable regimes, and also evaluating our cameras which are going to be used at 150 meter for the hazard avoidance. This what is appropriate integration time. That calibration we did of the LSDAC sensor and LPDC sensor, which is also one of our sensor which is in the background, we evaluated for our purpose. That also appropriate integration time was calibrated. Apart from this, in Chandrayaan-2 we had a data store and forward, but in Chandrayaan-3 we have built a new feature called near real-time download when the power descent is happening. So we will get the images from the lander, a lander imager which is seeing as how the descent is happening, what is the in the FOV, what is the moon view coming.
Yeah, we could see that image.
Yes, image is coming, continuous imaging of that it was done, so that how the profile is going on, that can be evaluated, assessed using the images. Also we are downloading in real time. Telemetry data also downloading, auxiliary data which is very important for our analysis, post-flight analysis also being downloaded. All these things near real time with a minimal latency were being downloaded with a tracking antenna put on board. This also was tested, qualified a priori before the actual descent. Then once landing happened, we operated the lander imager where rover is going to roll down, the region where rover is going to touch down, we imaged, and we also had operated the lander imager to capture how the dust settlement, any dust settlement process, how the haziness has gone, all those things were captured. Then rover ramp opening were captured, then rover roll down were captured, all these things. And once rover touches the moon surface, whether the power generation is sufficient for rover also is there or not, all these things particularly planned and executed. For this, a planning starts at 4 years before. So because we need to work out what is going to happen, how we are going to do the operations. So a planning is required. A mission director or a DPD mission needs to do a planning of the requirements which are to be done in future a priori, and do or give the configuration inputs to the project for implementing them as a design changes or design parameters, so that when we execute it they come in handy for us. So this whole process has been done meticulously, flawlessly, without any error by our whole team. I thank my team for giving a lot of support.
Let us rewind a little bit. Let us come back to when the launch happened. For mission director, would it have been better if we had put Chandrayaan-3 on a straight path to the moon, or was it difficult or easy to have these earthbound maneuvers, because you're adding risk there? So as a mission director, what would you prefer, a direct approach or this circuitous approach which we have to use the slingshot of gravity?
See, one thing is, both processes have its own pros and cons. Currently, if you ask me, my view, putting straightforwardly directly into the orbit is best thing to be done. After that, we should have sufficient time for whatever process we need to follow, that has to be there. But at present, whatever we are having the resources with respect to that, we have done a perfect execution of the plan, and it has met the objectives. That's all I want to tell for this.
So as mission director, ideally you want a more powerful, larger rocket available to India,
Yes,
correct?
Correct, yes, I agree with you. It will be handy for our future missions.
Correct.
Now today what we are doing is, with respect to available resources, to meet our objectives, we are doing a different mission planning and trajectory planning. So, and the same strategy we followed in Chandrayaan-2, Mars and here. But now for future, if we need to have powerful rocket with a more capacity of payload lifting off and more robustness in the things.
No, I've said this. So you were very smart, because you said if we don't have a heavy rocket, then let us use the strength which Mother Earth has given us, gravity, and then use that as a slingshot. So that was a very smart way of doing things. Most other space agencies don't do that. And how did that smartness come?
See, actually, this is one of the technique which normally any trajectory designer plans, executes it. We are not the first. Many people have used this concept for going to when they have lesser fuel, they do a slingshot or gravity extent to reach, get more velocity, so that they can go without spending the fuel on the satellite to get more velocity and reach the requirements. So this is one of the technique which everybody follows. It is not that we have followed new, but it is done, but we cannot tell it's a purely gravity assistant followed by us. It is like we have spent fuel to increase the apogee by firing at a perigee point where the maximum velocity is there for the satellite. Adding the velocity is aiding us. So that's why we always fired all our burns at perigee. That is the advantage we have planned. That is a planning aspect.
Now, a lot of people have asked me, see, you're shooting the satellite which is Chandrayaan-3 when it is closer to the Earth, and then going all the way nearly 4 lakh kilometers away to the moon. How do you aim it? Because the Earth is rotating, moon is rotating, the sun is having its effect, so is Chandrayaan-3 moving.
Yeah.
How do you aim it so accurately? How do you decide the physics?
Yeah, I'll tell in a very simpler sense. See, our objective here was landing. So we know the landing site and the landing latitude and longitude, and it should be in sunlit region. That's our requirements. So when the satellite is capturing the moon orbit and on landing day, satellite has to be over that longitude. That is what our objective. So what we do is we did the back propagation. Means if this is the requirement, when we have to do the capture of the moon, that date gets fixed. Then if this is the lunar orbit insertion date fixed, then how many days before we have to do the TLI, trans-lunar injection, that is fixed. Then from there we see that how many orbits we have to spend in the earthbound phase to get the our OD, orbit termination, we require some few specified amount of time. So, and we should also see that burns are not larger, so they are fuel optimal, not only time optimal, fuel optimal also. So all these aspects considering, we fix our launch date. From launch date, we means from back propagation to the planning to the start of the injection of the satellite starts. This is the planning what we do normally in our this type of trajectory designs.
Now in trajectory design, when you shot it, so you can also shoot it to Mars, you can shoot it to moon, you can wherever, when we do mission Venus, you will also shoot it to Venus. How do you figure out which angle to shoot on?
See, our objective is that we have to capture moon. So when the plane which the satellite is going to travel, once it is intersecting the moon's plane, it should be intersecting at 90 degrees, because inclination is 90 of the moon's orbital plane. But this will intersect at this plane, that's the plane, means the orbital plane what is going to, the satellite is going to travel around the Earth. So when we plan this, we have, the objective was to capture the moon. So that is how the planning is done, as I explained to you. This is the back propagation planning, and we ensure that when the satellite is coming to this point, our moon is there to capture it. That's how we are done. That is a perfect planning of our flight dynamics team. One thing is, when we are planning execution, because every burn has an objective that this much delta V has to be imparted, this much orbital raise will happen. So we have to tell that whatever uncertainty in the delta V should be minimal and our burn should be perfect. So all these things are achieved by using a perfect accelerometer which is calibrated for all the errors, and we also have a very good orbit termination team, and we have very good propagation model which has given us a lot of confidence that if today we have a satellite at so and so position, if you want to know the satellite position after t plus t1 hours later, our propagation model is so good that we were able to tell that after t plus this much time satellite position is going to be there. So it is over years this knowledge and our teams have developed this design thing.
How complex is capturing by the moon? Because if you travel too fast, then you have a flyby.
Correct.
If you are too slow, then you crash. How do you decide the optimal velocity?
Correct. See, the point is here both LOI, lunar orbit insertion, as well as TLI, both are very critical. One is escaping from the Earth, one is capturing the moon. As you told that the delta V, what we are going to impart with respect to the lunar orbit insertion, it has to be so meticulously planned that with the axiomatic cutoff we are achieving that it has happened correctly. Yes, if the delta V is there more or less, as you told, it will either fly by or it will not be, it will be crashing. Is all this. So that is how our systems, our navigation systems, national navigation systems have been calibrated and performance has been assessed before we will go to LOI. So all these assessments in the earthbound phase, we have carried out all these assessments, each of the sensor, including our national navigation accelerometer, gyros, all these things were calibrated well, and we have seen that with respect to the planning, what is the uncertainty we are having, we're within the limits. That's how we have calibration done. That is how the whole system and design has been done.
Now, let's jump straight to a phase where you are already in the moon orbit, and while you are accelerating in the Earth orbit, in the moon orbit, you have to reduce the velocity, so your engines are performing in a different fashion. There the propulsion module was there, and here you had the Vikram landers, engines, and all liquid engines firing. Let's come straight to the deorbit and to the soft landing. Okay. How many hours before deorbit did you tell Vikram, here are your commands and here is how you have to perform, so that at 6:04 p.m. you have a beautiful soft landing? How much time before that?
See, if for answering your question, there is the 6 days of activities there in this before power descent starts. One is the our LBN 5, lunar burn 5. Once it is over, the whole composite is in an orbit around the moon of 150 by 150 around. After that, both PM and LM get separated. Once lander gets separated, we have within 1 day from separation the deorbit 1, which where engines are lander Vikram engines are used to be for assessing throttling of at lower and higher throttling regimes. So we have downloaded the, and we are told this burn should parameters what are required to happen were uplinked around 15 hours before. So all things were uplinked, verified. Yes, at the same time T1 you have to perform this. Performance burn is over. After data download was done to assess that how the system has behaved. The data was analyzed and we got ready for the next burn within 24 hours again. So next burn was carried out deorbit 2, where we have done different throttle regimes of all the 4 engines, 2 engines, all these things were done, which is for requirement is to assess the engines at higher throttle and lower throttle, what is uncertainty in the engine thrust, which can be used for our actual descent. So we have calibrated engines in these first 2, deorbit 1 and deorbit 2, and we also met the requirement that our satellite should be in 100 by 30 kilometers after deorbit 2, so that we in these 4 days when we are around the moon with 100 by 30, we are able to evaluate our actual sensors like our LSDAC, LBDC cameras. These cameras with integration time has been operated and finalized what is the optimal integration time for the capture of when the descent is happening, so that we get our hazard avoidance information. Apart from this, we also done the
So how many hours before deorbit?
48 hours before the actual descent start. We started uplinking all our parameters which are required for the actual descent to start, which we completed by 6 hours. And the last opportunity till we have kept it, any uncertainty observed, because our OD is continuous going on, if any uncertainty comes, we can uplink and fine tune till last T-4 hours. So this is how the planning of last T-4 to T-48, means descent power descent start minus 4 hours to 48 hours. All these uplinks, verifications were done multiple times by multiple teams, so that we are nowhere any missing point.
So T-20, meaning from soft landing to
minus
20
to 48 hours.
48 hours you uploaded, but T-20 is when the deorbit happened. At that point, or when did you, how does Vikram come to know that I have reached a point where I need to start soft landing?
Yeah. See, Vikram doesn't know anything. Vikram knows that Vikram has one time. At that so and so time, which is the reference for us onboard time, with respect to that we have to tell that you have to start descent. That is our autonomous sequencer, ALS sequencer, adding sequence should start. So actual descent minus 30 kilometers point, minus 70 seconds, we have initiated the onboard ALS sequencer. After that, it is autonomous. All the things which has to happen will automatically happen by onboard. Different in rough braking phase, what sensor has to operate, what is the engine's thrust has to be gained, and what is in attitudinal phase, which sensor has to be operated, what is the attitude for getting the altimeter updates. In fine braking phase, what has to be done, how much velocity fine tuning has to do. Then in local terminal phase, how the module has to descend vertically, and where the LSDAC input has to come, and where movement, any movement required, retargeting is required or not. But our system told that Nadir is the best point to land, so it has landed vertically down. So all these things are autonomously taken decisions based on the previous qualification and assessment of the sensors and systems in that 4 days.
So your job was critical in making sure it landed almost where we wanted it to land.
Correct. Yes. Our job, as I explained to you, my job starts here. It starts 4 years before the actual launch starts. So we have to do a perfect operations planning, execution, implementation, and always there will be some surprise in orbit to take care of unknown things. But to our satisfaction, the systems which are built in Chandrayaan-3 have performed normally, and as expected results were there. So we could perfectly have a landing at the pinpointed designated landing coordinates. And this systems confidence how got is we have done the special tests. Exhaustive tests were done, IHT, integrated hot test, new pole test, our guidance algorithms, navigation algorithms, all these things including actuators, everything were tested left and right in ICT, IHT, so that we have a lot of confidence in our algorithms, guidance and actuators and sensors.
How did you celebrate the landing, personally?
I celebrated, I don't have words to tell, but it is one of the moments which I cannot forget in my life, because it's like some goosebumps I can tell. The feeling I cannot express, but to achieve this, a lot of effort has been put, which within 1 second after perfect successful landing, everything has gone out.
But your job did not end, because landing was one part, and then Pragyan and the communication between Pragyan, Vikram and orbiter, your work continued.
Yes, that actually landing is one objective of the mission. After the next secondary objective you can call, or the next objective of the mission was to move the rover on the moon surface. And we were the first to have this experience of rover movement, because till now we never had an experience of moving a rover on any of the celestial surface. So before that we need to evaluate our algorithms how rover will move using the navigation cameras on the rover on ground. We tested it in our checkout. We tested it on ground before that actual usage. So once rover is on the moon surface, we started operating our navigation cameras, planning payload operation, because science data is very important. So once the rover moves from one point to another destination point, we operate the payloads, and we also operate the navigation camera, which are the eyes for the rover to move for the further mobility. So using this data, how to rover to move, that also was planned. So all this 24/7 this planning was done, and we moved around 100 meters, which is milestone which we have met with a lot of effort, and our teams have worked day and night for.
Did you expect it to move 100 meters?
Our aim was to move maximum as much as possible. We have put that, yes, we have to move maximum movement distance around 150 meters and get the science data as much as possible, because this is a new area and new data. Correct. Which nobody has, our scientists or our application people don't have this type of data. This is very useful data. So we have given equal importance for science as well as maximum mobility. So we could move 100 meters totally in a 14 days period.
How did you have to go to Pragyan, took one, and then it had to come back, it found a crater?
Yeah.
Did we not plan that?
See, the point is we have had an OHRC imaging which was then Chandrayaan-2 orbiter. Using that we got a first cut assessment how it has to move. But rover can move, that resolution is 32 centimeters, but this is 1 centimeter resolution navigation camera. See, navigation camera can give a range of 5 meters to 10 meters, means from the where current position to 5 meters to maximum 10 meters. So when rover is going to move from here to there, only 5 meters we know. Beyond that, we don't have any knowledge. Only OHRC can tell us to a first cut information there is something not to be done. Based on that, we try to merge our OHRC knowledge as well as our navigation knowledge and try to move. But the point is, good thing is, once we reach the crater, we can do the science there. So we went to the crater rim and got the science data and came back. So that we have used for an advantage for us, that going to near to a crater and getting science data is one more plus point for our scientists.
And you also got us that beautiful image on the way back of the Vikram lander on the lunar surface.
Majestically standing on the moon surface, yes.
So when we backtracked, we got something.
Yes.
It was not as if we did something.
We wanted some things have been done intentionally. Like example I will tell. Now where our rover is standing, the rover path, because tomorrow if wake up happens, onboard automatically rover will move 3 meters. So we need to do that backtrack of 3 meters, keep it a position where rover is safe. So that is how the planning was done a priori. So tomorrow when rover comes on, it will move 3 meters, but it is safe. So that is how the full planning has been done.
As mission director, were you scared when suddenly the team said we want to do a hop? You had no plans for doing a hop, as mission director, what went through your mind?
First thing is, as a mission director, anything comes, we have to see as what is the objective of each test. Yes, it has taken me a surprise, but yes, we have to do it because for future, because all our objectives have been met. Now the next purpose requirement is our future purpose, what we want. For that purpose, our chairman and UR director, both of them have told we should do an op. Yes, the credit goes to both of them. They asked us to perform this experiment hop, and they stood with us. And we within 24 hours our teams done the hop, and we have moved 40 centimeter in the position displacement. Yes, we have done it and demonstrated that yes, our systems are working, and hop is a successful experiment. It was a last moment, a new requirement came up from our management. Yes, we have done it successfully.
So you were with the team when they wanted to do the hop.
Yes.
So Vikram, one soft landing and one more soft landing after that in a hop. And who knows, if it wakes up, there is still 60 plus kilograms.
Yes.
Maybe the team will want mission director to do another hop. Who knows? Are you prepared for that?
We'll, as things progress, we'll work out. At present, we want first thing, system should wake up. We have to assess that systems are working perfectly normal. Then only next level of planning we'll plan at present.
See, for people in Chandrayaan-3, they got a break after the mission.
Yes.
For you, as mission director, from Chandrayaan, you also then jumped into Aditya.
Yes.
Don't you want a break?
See, break is correct, but the point is these are two important responsibilities which are assigned by management to me, which I have been working from last 5 to 6 years. For Aditya was 10 years and Chandrayaan-2 onwards I have been working. See, the point is we have to put our effort, 100% effort for the organization which has given me something as a responsibility. They had a faith in me. So I had to fulfill that. Yes, some break is required. Now I'll take break. After these two are successfully met all the objectives.
Now, beyond that, what are the plans? Before that, let's spend a little time on your early education and family. Where did you study and how did you come to be at ISRO?
Actually, my initial days of schooling and my intermediate or plus 1, plus 2 happened in Machilipatnam, which is in Andhra Pradesh. Then I moved after to Andhra Visakhapatnam, where I did my graduation in Andhra Avian College. Then I did my MS Electronics in Andhra University. Then I went for MTech instrumentation in Indore University. This is and next after that I joined, given an interview in ISRO. So I got selected. I joined here.
So is ISRO your first job?
Yes. No, nothing else.
You enjoy the job?
Yes. Actually, my aim was when I was doing education also, I wanted to do something for the country. Either it can be armed forces, defense, or any R&D organization. But finally, I felt that yes, my spoon of food is R&D, where I can give more contribution for the thing. So I took up R&D.
But how do you work with this team? Because you have the hardware team, you have the scientists, the hardware team has certain requirements, the scientists have different requirements, they will want maximum science, the hardware people will say we can't do such, and you are the interface. How do you balance this?
As you told, it is a balancing. It's a trade-off between the requirement, objective, as well as what is the resource availability. So we have to do the marriage of these two. So a marriage is that meet the science objective as well as operate the whole system within the allowed constraint without any problem to the system. So this is what we should, as a mission director or a deputy mission, we should have a hold on the whole system, and which is giving correct thing for the system should be operated within the allowed resources. That is what a balancing job I had to do as a mission director.
Thanks a lot for speaking to me.
Yes,
and I know you had a long night and you've been waiting patiently to speak to me, and so beautiful to see Vikram in 1:1 configuration behind us and to see the real moon stars of India. And may you bring more glory to India and for the entire team.
Thank you, sir.
So that was a discussion with the India's moon stars. And as you heard Mr. Srikanth tell us that it was a marriage between different teams. So in a way, one can say, Nataraj, the cosmic dance, and Shiva and Shakti, all did the job perfectly, and the scientists, engineers at the Indian Space Research Organization, along with the scientific team, worked in unison to give India a perfect moment when we saw the soft landing on the moon. I have never seen the country unite in this fashion. 1.4 billion people in India and so many more across the world, all united to make sure that India had a successful soft landing. And one should not miss it. India became the 4th country to successfully soft land on the moon and the first to do it nearer the South Pole. The South Pole is an area we need to explore continuously. India has a stake now in the nearer South Pole region, where there is a gold rush. If Vikram is painted or has a gold film on the lunar surface nearer the South Pole, there is a gold rush. Russia wanted to go there and failed. China wants to go there. America's Artemis missions are also targeting nearer the South Pole. India's Chandrayaan-3, which found the presence of water molecules, also went nearer the South Pole. Chandrayaan-2 Vikram lander also came there. And Chandrayaan-3 anyway. What a wonderful thing. At Shiva Shakti, we have the Pragyan rover and the Vikram lander beautifully asleep. If they wake up, wonderful. Otherwise, they are India's ambassadors on the lunar surface. India should repeatedly look at the South Pole and make sure we have a great presence there. That is where there is a gold rush on the moon. Having spoken to the real moon stars of India, with whom all below 50, long careers ahead for exploring the solar system and making sure at some point an Indian sets his foot or her foot on the moon and on Mars. Wishing the team Chandrayaan, team ISRO, and team India more laurels. There has never been a more uniting moment for India than the soft landing nearer the South Pole. With the 1:1 model of Vikram and Pragyan in the satellite facility of ISRO, where Chandrayaan-3 was fabricated, with camera person Kumar, who has ably held his camera for such a long duration to conduct these extensive interviews which will last a lifetime for India and be a learning for people. With these two beautiful Vikram and Pragyan, Pallava, Bagla for NDTV.